Hello, my friend. So I've been out for a week on vacation and I couldn't record a new video for you, but here I am, and let's talk about what was going on in the past week and what are the potential for development in future. I'm gonna change the things up a little bit, so I'm gonna have at the top here three different sections of the video where I'm gonna be talking about the three different levels of the map, because very often we focus too much on the battle details and kind of forget about the big picture. And I think that this is something that happened a lot in past week. All right, so the first things first, we will take a look at the tactical level, like the level where we're talking about fighting. So around Kharkiv. So let me just pull out my new drawing tool. We're gonna put some kind of a red purplish color in. And basically around Kharkiv, this is not completely accurate because there has been some push by the Russians from the north. So there is no Ukrainian troops that are controlling the border right now. So there's like a little bit of a line. So in Kharkiv direction, the Russians have sent in some reserves. The Ukrainians tried to push in, but they both kind of settled down. So this region is pretty much in a standstill right now. There doesn't seem to be any major movements where the Ukrainians have crossed the bridge, and it's a little bit unclear in this area whether the Ukrainians are still on this side of the river or not, because there have been reports that Ukrainian bridge, pontoon bridge, has been destroyed, but then there were some Ukrainians reported that they have been on this side anyway, so it's a little bit unclear, but this is also not where the action is happening. So, but the point is still stands from the top here. Ukrainians are threatening the city of Kupiansk. Oh, wow, too much. Of Kupiansk here, and this is kind of their primary target, and they want to kind of exit either here or here or here. So this is their target, but so far, no major developments on this area. So in Izium direction. We know that there has been a major kind of shift in the operational scale. So right now, the operation of Russia is to bridge this gap, not on this particular line, but like somewhere here. And obviously, they've pulled a lot of troops kind of out of Izium direction, which was used to be the main point of attack. But now a lot of reserves have been pushed, and Ukrainians are actually kind of slowly pushing into some of the small counterattacks around Russians. So Russians are being kind of a little bit squeezed here, but there are still plenty of forces here to control the area. So it's very, very minor. What was major that happened is the city of Liman was taken, which is very important because it opened like a track highway to Seversk. So this was like kind of the plan of Russia. They wanted to go here and then here. So unfortunately, they kind of captured the city of Liman, but now Ukrainians are pushing back. So there is clashes still around Liman. So it's not completely clear if the city is completely taken, but the point is they're still not using this track to go to Seversk. And here they still haven't crossed this river. So, and they are not really looking to cross it. They've tried crossing it multiple times during the week, but it never worked out. So it's a little bit unfortunate for them. With that said, let's move on. I don't want this to take too long. So in this area here, we know that there has been tries to advancements on Severodonetsk. I'm too high. Let's go. Oh, yes. So there has been some advancements to Severodonetsk. They've been trying to basically advance and attack from three directions, but they're starting the fighting there in the city. But Severodonetsk and Lysychansk is a massive city, and Lysychansk is a little bit on a hill, so it kind of oversees Severodonetsk. So this is like a guardian angel, you can say, of the Severodonetsk. So even if the Russian forces can enter Severodonetsk, they can get shelled by from this higher ground in Lysychansk. So it's an extremely hard position to kind of storm and go into the city. So even if we're talking about just people coming in, it's pretty much a dead end. Like they need an encirclement first and foremost. So no major worries there. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still bloody fighting and people are dying, but we all know that. We understand. We just want to understand what is happening. Around Papasna is interesting. So they during the past week they advanced both to the west and to the north of Papasna, and their goal was actually to get this to this road junction. This is the main kind of track that goes feeds from Bakhmut to Lysychansk. Like this is the road here, and they really want it, but Ukrainians at first started the first part of the week. It looked that Russians are really pushing hard, and they're gonna take it over. But their advance has been slowed down significantly. It seems that Ukraine has finally supplied with enough reserves and firepower to, if not fully stop, to significantly slow down. And it seems that the Ukrainian army has basically decided that they're not going to pull out of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. So they are trying to hold their ground. Despite technically from kind of this area, it's about 2 kilometers from the road. So the road is actually on fire, you see here. So it can be shot at by the different artillery and so on. And pretty much from this area to this area, this whole thing can actually be shot at by artillery pretty much. So there is no like a major safe zone to hide in here. But all in all, it seems that Ukrainian army has significantly broke the tempo at which the Russians were advancing. So let us continue. So there is an encirclement here potentially, but I'm going to talk about it on the other level. So here we know that there's been efforts tried to go to the north of Avdiivka, but it seems that it's kind of like being stopped, and a lot of reserves are being pushed to this direction. And then on the other fronts, they have extremely hard time on this direction, on the Hulaypole direction here. Like, let me just on the Hulaypole here. So they have really hard time preparing, and here they also have big troubles. So it doesn't seem that there is a major possibility for advancement on these directions. And then to round it up, Ukrainians are now, as far as I'm aware, are committing on some kind of counterattack with the goal to essentially cut the Russian groupings in two. So there is like a Russian grouping here, and there's a Russian grouping in around Kherson, roughly. And now Ukrainians kind of crossed the river here, and now they basically want to essentially engage towards Novakhovka. So that would be like the prime goal for the Ukrainians. And then essentially they would cut the Russians in two, and then they will be pretty nasty situation for the Russians. That is the tactical level of the map. Well, on operational level, let us look towards the situation around Severodonetsk, because this is basically where the juice is. And on the operational level, basically Russians want to go out to the borders of the region. Basically, that's the borders that they're looking for. This is something, and it is extremely hard for them to do it. So, as I explained, the tempo has been dropping significantly in the past days. And while they did have some advancements, we need to understand that this is not the tempo that the Russians want. Even despite that they're kind of advancing a little bit, it seems that it was just because Ukrainians didn't regroup properly and were not completely sure where the break would go. Now where the break is kind of understood quite well, I think Ukrainians are dedicated resources. The bad news is that the Russians are still having reserves, and they're preparing new reserves. The quality of those reserves is extreme dog shit. Let's just put it this. It's like, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen the T-62 tanks that Russians are pulling towards the front lines. The experts say that they will not be used as an attack tank. They say that those tanks will be essentially used as a mobile turret. They will basically just dig in onto the back line in the Ukrainian territory that Russia has already occupied, and basically will be used just essentially like a beachheads. In which case, those tanks become a lot more useful. So they will basically try to free up as much as possible newer tanks, but the T-62s obviously are not supposed to go into the attacks. And so, in a big scale, we can say that there might be still an encirclement. It's quite real. I think we're going to find out in the next couple of days if Russia has dedicated reserves here, right? The things to look out for is, do we see the finishing of the fightings around Liman? And then do we see the crossing of the river around here somewhere? Or maybe here, because the goal of the Russians is essentially either Bilohorivka or Seversk. They need either this or this. So look for any kind of advancements towards here, because after that they basically need to kind of just push here and close the encirclement. Obviously, easier said than done. And the thing to say is that despite the encirclement, even if it happens, let's just put it this way, even if it happens, these two cities is a extremely difficult situation to fight in. This is, I would like, some would even say that it's worse than Mariupol. Like, this will take a lot of really strong efforts. Like, this will be weeks, if not months. There is a lot of elite forces here for the Ukrainians with very high morale and a lot of firepower. So this will not be a cakewalk for the Russians, even despite the encirclement. So to consume this will still take a week. And this brings us neatly to the strategic section of this video. So let's talk globally. What we have here is basically the map of Ukraine, and I'm trying to say this every video, and I'm gonna try to repeat this. The goal of Russians was, before they started everything, is essentially go here and take all of this part of Ukraine. Just look how huge Ukraine is. This is not even the whole Ukraine. There's the whole Ukraine, right? Because the ultimate goal of the Russians is subjugate all of Ukraine. So all of this needs to be subjugated. Right now, the first goal of the Russians was basically essentially something like this. Like, so that they wanted, like, which would be like an encirclement of a massive amounts, like, you know, or yeah, like something like this. So encircle, like, basically something like this. This was the adapted plan. That didn't go so well. Then we had the revised plan around the Donbas region, this one. It also didn't go so well, right? Then it became even smaller. Then it became essentially something like this. And then well, sorry, not this, there's the Izium outline. So something like this. It didn't go, Izium direction was stopped, right? Then they tried to cross here, and then they finally pushed here. And basically they kind of start, okay, this is our goal now. In the huge overview of the map, I just hope you see why this is basically that even taking and encircling these cities, like, everyone is asking these questions, like, will they encircle, will they not encircle? Again, I've made a great big podcast last video. If you haven't seen it, go watch it or listen to it, whatever. But the point is, people focus so much, and Russian propaganda wants you to focus on this so much, on what is happening on this small level, like, you know. But in a big scale, this does not change almost anything, right? Ukraine is huge, and Ukrainians want to fight. The problem of Russians of taking several, well, not even taking, let's not go there, because as I said, it's going to take them for a while. The biggest problem for the Russians is they're going to encircle Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, maybe. But so what? What next? And the what next is the part of where Russian plans fail miserably and completely. Right now, the Russians have issued essentially the preparation for the reserves. It's basically they did the hidden mobilization I've talked about a little bit earlier, and now they're being sent to train. They're going to be training for about a month. The training has begun about a week ago for those departments, so we might see additional 20 to 30 battle tactical groups formed from the reserves. Very shitty ones, like very old equipment. So they're not going to be. They're going to have like essentially a month of training. That's it. That's it. That's it. And that is the last reserves that they can get without the full mobilization. This is literally basically all of the Russian army except for like the border guards and like the completely mandatory reserves if Russia is to be in any kind of secure position globally, because otherwise they will just start exposing their flanks. So what does this mean? This means that the war will go on. And what happened this week was at the start of the week we saw that the Russian political wing is doing very strong efforts to convince a lot of the Western leaders, more specifically Germany, France, Hungary, and Italy, where each of those leaders or representatives of those countries came out with some kind of a proposition for how this war should end by Russia just getting like a small piece of land that they control, and then they will kind of pacify the aggressor here, and then they will have peace, and they will go to business as usual. Thankfully, it seems that these kind of talks have failed, but we'll find out more after the summit of the European Union on the 31st of May. So, second thing that was very difficult is that the weapon flow has kind of stopped down a little bit. This was both due the fact that Germany, despite talking a lot, still haven't sent any significant equipment to support Ukraine. I will not stop repeating that. Germany, and especially Scholz, is talking a lot. They're doing not as much, let's put it mildly, but they are completely botching any kind of their massive significant support for Ukraine, because they said we're gonna send you Gepards that are actually quite hard to learn, and we are also going to send them to you with almost no ammo, and we're going to send them to you. First 15 pieces will come at the end of July. You understand where the issue is, right? And US kind of stopped a little bit with their supplies because they ran out of money a little bit before the new rules kicked in. And they also changed their strategy. They've loaded a lot of the equipment that they want to get to Ukraine to ships. So they're not going to be delivered by the air anymore. They're going to start getting delivered by ships. And that is massive because ships can hold a lot of shit in them. And this means one thing. Once Ukrainians are going to understand that the ships have come, the ships usually take probably 10 days-ish, plus minus, to get to Europe. They should be around basically Europe right now and start to get unloaded. Look out for the news of some transportations and report them. And basically that means that Ukraine will start getting a lot of weapons. So a lot of that manpower that Ukraine has, I'm still going to remind you that Ukraine has more available manpower than Russia has. And even if Russia mobilizes, well, not mobilizes, but finishes training these additional reserves, it is still not going to be even close to the numbers that Ukraine can put up. The problem of Ukraine is they don't have enough guns, essentially heavy guns and armor, to fight them with. Once the proper flow of these ships is going to start getting into Ukraine, and after about a month or 2 months of that, we will see a significant shift, because then a lot of Ukrainian reserves will start getting completely overwhelmed with how much available firepower they have, and we will start seeing significant changes in the war happening. So all in all, I'm very optimistic, despite the kind of what Russians want you to see on this tactical front, right? So going back, so despite what Russians really want you to look at, like, oh, look, we're encircling these guys. Yes, yes, look here, yes, like, look here, we're like fighting. Oh, look, we are advancing here. Oh, here we are crossing. Oh yeah, we captured this city. Does not fucking matter. Does not matter. Is it painful? Yes. Is it local? Exactly. This is a complete joke of a target for a second military of the world, as they wanted to put themselves. They're fighting Ukrainians and they're having hard trouble getting through right now. And a bulk of US weapons have not been A, received, B, being trained at. It's gonna change. It's gonna be good. Believe in Ukrainian army, support Ukraine, we will win.